This is my friend Carl. He wanted to be on YouTube, so now he's on YouTube. And we're going to straighten out this wall, which is not going to be super fun. Adam's once again making a bunch of noise. So here's what we got going on. Back at the Somerville project, and we are going to do some framing in the kitchen today to get the kitchen wall to new addition wall all in plane and ready for cabinets and cabinet backing and all that fun stuff. So it's a little goofy. Flip the camera around, show you what we got going on and how we're gonna remedy it. So the entire addition was built out of 2x6 walls, 16 on center. So we got our foundations as in line as we could, and then we built up from there. But we've got a 2x6 wall here, and we've got a old school 2x4 wall here. These kind of sort of are all over the place. They range from like 1.75 inches to 4 inches. I believe back in the day, the plaster guys are who kind of got the walls nice and straight by just feathering their plaster thicker and thinner across the wall, so the lumber wasn't super controlled. It was rough. All this stuff, a lot of this stuff is actually rough sawn. So what we're gonna end up doing is I've got a string line. So because of this pantry wall, we've got 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches sticking off the wall. So at this end, I tacked on 1.5 inch block up high and 1.5 inch block down below, and I've got my string line on that. My string line is touching the stud there, and then over here I moved this string line closer and closer and closer to the wall until Adam saw that it was touching both of the 2x4s in the pantry. So now we're in plane with the addition wall. What we're gonna do is we're gonna then take a spacer block, just because that makes for less errors while measuring. If you want to take the risk, go ahead and measure the whole thing and then subtract 1.5 inches. But just to eliminate the possibility for error, we're going to hold the block here and then measure the distance to the string line. By doing that, that'll give us the distance that we need to fur this stud out so that the new kitchen studs that we laminate on the front are in plane with the addition wall. That's super critical here because we're gonna have cabinets all the way down this wall. So obviously we can't have a big step behind one of our cabinets. So we need to get everything in plane so that when we finish this, it's all nice and neat. That's why the ceiling was critical and the floor was critical. All of these walls have to basically be perfectly in plane from the old part of the house to the new part of the house. And that's how you make a kitchen like 2 feet bigger. But sometimes 2 feet makes a big difference. So we're gonna end up just snapping lines and ripping these with a saw. And then I'll probably be able to tack them on. We've got some like 3¼ inch nails, so that'll get us some bite. And then I'll probably come back and we'll screw them off with like some 4 inch screws or something like that. So gonna be a long process, but we'll get it figured out. So this kitchen wall is really close. As you saw, we went through and used our string lines to get our measurements. We put some of that foam adhesive back there and then nailed the sleepers, if you will, onto the front of it. So the good news is the level reads plumb on all of these. So now this wall is nice and plumb, and it'll be kind of hard to tell, but it's also in plane with the addition wall so that our drywall will float really nice between the old house and the new house. Then we went through and we blocked this one out. So we've got 34.5-inch lowers with a countertop on them. So I'll finish about 36 inches. So we've got a 2x4. I left these 3 out because I am nice to my plumber and I didn't want to have him patch this. We had to cut it to get this jack stud in for the header. So I didn't want to have him fighting in that little 6-inch gap there. So I was a nice person to him and I left out a couple blocks here, but we'll fill those in when he's done. And then we've got 42-inch uppers. So this one starts somewhere about 54 and goes up to 8 feet. So I've got that blocked out. And then some of the goofy blocking. So our fridge sits down at this end. So that's why we've got this taller one, because this will hit the fridge cabinet. And then on this wall, you can run your blocking straight through because the microwave will hang off of this one, and then just add some blocking up above for the microwave cabinet that sits up higher. So now when we hang our kitchen cabinets, we should be able to just put screws in wherever and we'll hit that continuous blocking and everything is super solid. So that's a thing I like to do whenever I have a kitchen that is completely open to framing. It takes, maybe about an hour to put all those blocks in, but on the flip side, it'll take hours worth of work off of your kitchen install. So these walls are nice and neat now. We've got a little bit of a discrepancy in this wall, but I think it's enough that we can fix it with some drywall shims before we hang our sheetrock. So our wall board, and then we'll be good to go. So that's our kitchen all wrapped up. Looks much better this way. Kind of gets you excited about hanging cabinets, even though that's like months away, or at least that's what it feels like. So that's gonna wrap up our kitchen wall straightening and blocking. I figure I'll also mention that we're putting a built-in in here, so we put some blocking on this wall for where that's gonna go, and we've got a slop sink that will go over here. So blocking is super important. Just take your time and think about your finishes and plop in blocks behind where your finishes are gonna go. And it's a good place to use up scraps. I think all this stuff was leftover cutoffs and whatnot that we were able to save from the burn pit and chuck into the walls to be useful later on. So that'll wrap up blocking and backing and the kitchen walls. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.